Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, or Mr. Happy Mondays, whatever you prefer. Now, I'm sure you've already noticed, both in the title and in my background, that I am not in the same location that I was in the previous video. This is not just me reorganizing my room like the last couple times you've seen changes. I have actually moved to a new location. Now, I haven't finished moving all my stuff. For example, right now I'm not on my usual desk. I'm on sort of a filler desk, very similar to one of my original setups, 1.0 Mr. Happy as it's been called. And not really too much I can do about that for now. I'm going to be moving my desk at some point during the week. Basic story was I needed to get away from my old home. I mean, with my nephew crying, nothing you could really do about that. He's not even a year old yet. But my family shouting, I didn't feel like I had the privacy and the quiet space that I needed in order to record videos that were adequate. In almost every video, if you turn the volume up loud enough, you can hear my nephew crying or a family member going, "Hi Jack, hi Jack." So I moved out. One of my relatives had a guest room that I could rent out, and that is what I am doing. So I don't have a roommate, but I am only living with one other person across the entire house. So it's been really good for me. I've only been here for not even 24 hours yet at the time of recording. It'll be 24 hours in in a few hours from now. But with that out of the way, since I knew that was going to be a pretty big question if I didn't address it at the beginning of the video, let's go through some of the questions we have from last week's video. I know a lot of people reposted videos, reposted questions that they'd posted in previous videos. So I'm going to try and get through as many of those today as I can. So let's get started. Alright, so the first question that I'm going to answer is about crafted gear. I've actually been getting this question a lot, so it's a very good question. I think it even pops up here a few times. This is my question from week 14. My question is, what is the best gear currently that you can have? I know there's item level 130 gear, but I saw a Dragoon with only green HQ crafted gear with an item level of 110. What's up with that? And is it worth it to go for the Poetics gear then? So, the crafted 110 gear is great for going into the final coil, just like the crafted 90 gear was great going into the second coil, and the original crafted I-70 gear was great going into the initial coil. It's really, really good for progression because it gives you a huge stat bonus across all of the slots. If you do every left side, it's a huge increase in damage. And I might make a video explaining that because I've had a lot of people ask how good that 110 crafted gear is versus regular 110 gear, especially for progressing through the final coil of Bahamut. As patches go more and more, it becomes less and less relevant because people get more and more Poetics gear. But in some cases, that crafted gear can be better than the item level 120 gear you get from the Poetics, but that's something that you really have to calculate out on your own. I believe even Bard's Best in Slot gear has 2 pentamelded crafted pieces that end up just slightly ahead of their 130 counterparts. So it all depends. Really, the big thing for Final Coil is having HP thresholds. I saw another question on here. I'll put that on the screen right now. About reaching HP thresholds like 61 to 6300 for most DPS and healers. Tanks, they just have to have the best gear that they can. Pentamelded stuff does help them as well. And Dragoons need to have like 6800. This all depends on if you have a monk, how much mitigation you have, do you have a pocket to stasis. Excuse me, things like that do help. But that was really the idea. The left side is to meet DPS checks, and the right side is to meet HP checks. So accessories for HP checks, crafted left side gear for DPS checks. Hopefully that clears up. It's not necessarily better, but that guy's crafted 110 gear is, if he melded it right, most likely better than his regular 110 gear was before. I might have to make a video explaining the math behind that using Ariala.com, but that's the basic gist behind it. Wow, this is a question I didn't expect to get this one. This one's about Wildstar. It's actually a 2-part question. Hey, I had no idea you played Wildstar. I pre-ordered and played and then sort of fell out of it for some reason I can't quite think of. What are your exact thoughts on Wildstar as a whole as far as gameplay, community, how it compares to 14? So I'll answer that question first. Wildstar was a game I had huge hopes for. I didn't get to play World of Warcraft during the glory days, as they're called by the pre-BC players. And I just wanted to see, 40-man raids, 20-man raids. I didn't think it would work. The 40-man raids I had very, very low expectations for. The game itself just feels 10 years too late, to be honest, and considering World of Warcraft is 10 years old. Sound effects, very, very, I didn't really like the art style, and I know it's cartoony, kind of like World of Warcraft, at least was. It's gotten a little bit better over the times, but yeah, it's just, I didn't dig the art style too much. It didn't bother me because at least it was consistent, but I didn't dig it, it wasn't a big thing for me. The combat was okay. I actually kind of like the all skill-based combat. Everything is skill-based in the game. I liked that aspect of it. Didn't like it in PvP though, when all it was a bunch of friggin' like meshes of colors. You couldn't tell what was good, what was bad. It was just it all meshed together, and the colorblind options were terrible for someone like me. Level 50 content, heavily gated, like pre-BC. You know, I have to do attunement quests, and everybody has to be able to beat them. Bosses were different every week, which is okay. I think that's actually sort of a good thing. Keeps the challenge a little bit fresher, but it also can make things a little bit harder for re-clearing. A lot of people who play MMOs, they want to clear it once and know that they beat it, that they're capable of beating it, and then replicate it on following weeks, then maybe make alternate characters to do it on. The constant rechanging or the changing of the abilities on the fights. I knew a lot of people that actually thought they would like it and ended up not liking it because it would cause them to spend more time. They'd have to progress on it every week, and the people who were slower at progression would essentially mean they had to spend more time playing the game. Don't know why spending more time playing the game was a problem, but overall, I just feel like if the game had come out 10 years ago, even with the same graphics or even worse graphics, would have been a masterpiece, would have been regarded as the best game, you know, the top MMO. But 10 years later, when people have had the time to play through pre-BC World of Warcraft and now play with all the luxuries that we have, this generation of gamers is just not built for a game like Wildstar, and I think they kind of learned that. I don't know how they're doing right now. You'd have to ask somebody who actually plays Wildstar, but I don't hear too much about them anymore, so that's all I can say. And the second question was, back in World of Warcraft, you weren't restricted to being in a group for most normal dungeons and whatnot. You could just go in with whoever, whatever you wanted. I was thinking, do you think this would be something that Final Fantasy XIV could pull off? Yeah, they could pull it off if they could, if they would stop complaining about server space. I mean, realistically, that's one of the only things that's really stopping them. Then there's not really any good reasons to go back and do those dungeons alone, other than maybe power leveling a friend or something like that, which would be cool. It would be nice if we could go back and power level our friends in the old dungeons, especially considering how you have to wait in those long queues for the low-level duty finder right now. Sure, you can queue in with a tank and a healer, but they're going to get synced down, and then that sort of makes things a little bit awkward. I think it could definitely benefit from that feature. It's just a question of when could they do it, and are they going to have enough server space to support something like that? I guess the question is, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, I would like it, but we'll just have to wait and see. Alright, here's a really basic question. Do you have any new updated or new tips for getting to level 50 for something such as Ninja? Sounds like you're suffering from low-level dungeon problems as a DPS, which all the ninjas are right now. Every DPS who's leveling 1 to 50 right now is probably dealing with that issue. Realistically, you unlock your challenge log, you make sure you do your hunting logs every 10 levels. Your challenge logs, you kind of want to try and save until like you're up in like the upper 30s or mid 40s, just because those are the levels where it like really starts to slow down, and those giant chunks of the XP from the challenge log really help push those levels to go a little bit faster. Also, be sure to be doing fates and leave quests as often as possible while you're queued in to the low-level roulette or the highest low-level dungeon that you can enter. You really want to be doing things. You don't want to sit around and wait for something to happen. You want to constantly be doing things. If you're getting bored of fates, do some leaves. If you get bored of leaves, do some fates. Even if you're doing a leave and a fate spawns on top of you, do the fate and then finish the leave. You know, be able to multitask is really the only thing I could say about that. The other option is get a friend who's a healer or a tank, have them speed queue you through dungeons for a few hours, and that should definitely help. Alright, so we have a few more questions from the previous weeks. This one is this one's someone they asked on episode 11. It's their third try. Mr. Happy, going off the way the story went with the Primals and Ultima being how he fought 3, Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda, and then Ultima taking their power, do you believe that for patch 2.5 it will be Omega taking the 3 new Primals, Leviathan, Ramu, and Shiva, or maybe even all 6? I don't think we're going to see Omega Weapon for a long time. I think he's going to make an appearance at like a physical appearance at some point in the 3.0 to 4.0 story, somewhere in between there. I mean, Omega's strength is massive, so I don't think we're going to fight him anytime soon. So no, 2.5 is probably going to be Odin. If they don't add him like literally right after the Japanese Fan Festival, like 2.48 after the Japanese Fan Festival, then Odin will likely be the Primal of 2.5. Nah, I don't think we're going to see Omega. Alright, here's another question that's from week 14, 13, and 12. So it's cool seeing Dark Knight coming back, and I don't mind too much that it's a tank, but IMO, this should be the last tank job added. Yeah, in Final Fantasy XI, a lot of jobs could tank, but there are really only 2 tanks, Paladin and Ninja. On to the question. So Dark will be sporting a great sword, but I really felt the Scythe was much better looking and fit the Dark Knight better. What is your opinion on the matter? I mean, look at the older Final Fantasies. A scythe is something that's really just Final Fantasy 11, and to be honest, a scythe is like a glorified farming tool, just a sickle that they're using to, you know, attack enemies. Sure, it looks cool to some people, but I prefer the giant sword. I think the scythe is just kind of meh at the very best. The weapon skills look cool, but man, some of those swinging animations look dumb as hell in Final Fantasy 11. Granted, at least one of everybody's animations looks stupid in Final Fantasy 11, but I much preferred the great sword, so I'm gonna go with that. Alright, here's a good question. I like this one. Mr. Happy, how would you feel if they added more jobs so that each class could fill more than one role, similar to WoW's tree system where every class is DPS role, other an example being a priest, which could be a healer or DPS, or would you prefer if they just gave each class a job their own talent tree? I don't like talent trees in most games. I like them in games like Path of Exile. Excuse me, Path of Exile is a game I love the expansion, how you actually develop your character, because there are multiple correct paths and there's a lot of preferences. In an MMO, when you do a talent tree, for the most part, your choices are completely streamlined. Somebody else will go out there, do the math, and streamline it, and if you don't play like that, people won't play with you. So to me, talent trees have always just while you're leveling up, they feel a lot better. I'll say that. While you're leveling up, getting a new talent feels really good. It's very gratifying for the player, and it honestly makes the leveling system a little bit less bland. It's something that definitely adds to leveling in MMOs, but at max level is where I dislike the talent tree system. So I'd be okay with the job having multiple roles they can fill. A good example is like Wildstar, where you have stances. You unlock stances at I think level 10, where one will give you like increased enmity, increased HP, and increased resistance to damage, and the other one will give you increased critical hit rate, increased damage, and something else. You know, I think they could do that. I think that's perfectly okay, like Sword Oath and Shield Oath almost, but more serious. You know, Sword Oath doesn't make you a DPS, it just makes you do more damage when you're not tanking. So I would like to see that, but I would like to forego the talent tree system. Just keep the thing, just keep things streamlined into what roles they can fulfill, and don't give us this fake sense of having our own choices to make, because it ends up being very unreal at max level anyway. Hey, Mr. Happy, I asked this question in episode number 14. My question is, what do you think about Square Enix adding Primal Armor like Ifrit or Shiva? They've actually been asked that a lot. They've been asking about shields for them, but they've also been asked about Primal-themed armor, and I'm cool with it. I mean, odds are it wouldn't be, like, best. It would be mostly just kind of like a vanity thing, but I'm perfectly okay with that, so thumbs up from me. Here's another easy one to answer. Question from week 14. How many times have you changed your character race in-game? Simple answer, started as a Roganin from 1.0, so in 2.0 I was a Roganin. Very shortly after, I got my first Fantasia from playing 1.0, changed into a Lalafell, didn't like it, so I changed into an Elizin, and then in patch 2.3, between 2.3 and 2.4, somebody wanted to do a Lalafell, how do I say this? A Lalafell cute contest, I think is what it was called. And they wanted me to host it, and they wanted me to be a Lalafell for the contest. So I said, listen, if you'll pay for me to change into a Lalafell and change back, sure, I'll do it. I didn't think they'd actually do it. They did. They bought me 5 Fantasias. They never did the contest, but I now have 4 Fantasias left, and I've been a Lalafell ever since. I'm waiting to use a Fantasia to see what the new race looks like. I mean, granted, I have 4 more of them. I could just use one. But to be honest, I've kind of gotten used to being a Lalafell, so I'll either stay one or I'll change, and whether or not I have 4 Fantasias in case I ever change my mind. So I'm good to go on that front. This one's another one from episode 14. I was wondering, because you said something about Dragoons and melee classes having pets, would you support a Beastmaster type class game? I've actually made a video about how I would like to see Beastmaster sort of in the game, where they could either be a melee pet class, or I could see Beastmaster being more like WoW's Hunter, where they use a bow instead and they command a pet. I very much see that being a possibility on both fronts, Archer becoming Beastmaster, or something along those lines, or even like the new gun class turning into Beastmaster, depending on what kind of gun they use. Sounds like they'll be using a pistol amongst everything else, but like a long gun, like a musket kind of deal is what comes to mind. So I'm down for Beastmaster being melee with pets or ranged with pets, whatever they decide to do, if they ever decide to do it, but we're just going to have to wait and see on that front. I'm okay with it, though. Here's a good question. Hey, Happy, I have a question on crafting and gathering. Short version, are they worth leveling? Long version, I initially picked up a crafting and gathering job in order to make gear for myself, but seeing how I leveled my Disciple of War job much faster, and I'm now at level 50, would it be worth leveling up some Disciples of Hand or Land jobs just to make gear for myself, or should I farm tomes? For the gear making for yourself, it's great. Excuse me, my phone forgot to silence that. It's great for new patches to make the brand new gear. If you can gather the materials and sell the gear, you can either sell the gear or you can make it for yourself, and it's a huge amount of money. takes a lot of money to get into that, though. So if you're strictly trying to make gear for yourself, nah, just farm tomes. Forget it. If you need crafted gear, just buy it. I mean, you could eventually make the accessories or something like that, but you're way better off at this point just farming tomes. As for just leveling them, worth leveling them, yeah, if you want to make some money, definitely. It's good making money off those things. It's pretty easy, too. It's just that it takes money to get money. So you got to be willing to invest in order to get returns on Disciples of Hand and Land. And that can be something that can run you millions upon millions. It will run you. What do I mean? It will run you millions upon millions upon millions of gil. It absolutely will. Here's another one. Hey, Hap, are you close to getting your Parade Chocobo out? Not even close. I'm at like 800 commendations. I don't do that much Duty Finder, you know? I don't, and when I do, I usually play, nowadays, I play my Ninja. I don't play my Scholar or my Warrior like I used to. So, I don't really get that many commendations. Not many people are giving Ninja commendations. Sometimes I get the obligatory, oh my god, it's Mrhappy, let's give him a commendation. I'm like, no, give it to the person who impressed you the most. That's the point. And that never happens. So, I don't really have that much, not even close to getting it. Hi, Mrhappy. With the teaser trailer release showing off the new Dragoon artifact gear, do you think that all jobs get new artifact? They've been showing us that artifact gear since before 2.1. They've been showing us the AF2 gear through pictures and whatnot. I didn't expect it would take us this long to get it in the first place. So we might even get it in 2.5. Who the hell knows? Yoshi P recently said that some of the things in Heavensward we'll see in 2.5. Don't know what that means. The Heavensward teaser trailer, I should say, we'll see in 2.5. No idea what that means. I thought the only thing I could think of is the artifact armor, a dragon, or a lot of dragons. I have no idea. But, well, yeah, we'll get it. Yeah. Do you think there's ever any consideration to implement a cape or cloak accessory? For pure vanity, it seems. I don't see why not. I think that's honestly something that the PlayStation 3 might hold us back from, because I know that seems like a really stupid thing for the PlayStation 3 to hold us back on, but considering how many people play the game, that's a lot of information to add on a character-to-character basis. So, I don't know. That's not even a PS3 thing. That's like literally a, hey, we need to like dedicate server space to make sure that it's there. So there's new cloaks in the game, and it's actually a big development process to make sure there's not just like 2 or 3 cloaks for every job. There's like a huge selection of cloaks across all the levels. But yeah, I don't see why they couldn't do it. Okay, guys, we're getting to the point where I don't have too much more time to answer questions. So luckily, I went through as many of them as I could, and I'm gonna try to answer a few of them that may not be from previous weeks. I'm looking through, and I don't see too many ones from previous weeks. Here's one, so I'll answer that. And the rest of them seem to be just brand new questions. So I'm going to answer one more previous week question, and I'm going to answer 2 or 3 non-previous week questions. So the first question I'm going to answer is, I asked this on the week 13 video, Mrhappy, because apparently that's my rapper name. Do you have an old game that you want to have a remake? If yes, what game? Your channel is awesome in your videos, and you are amazing. Thank you for the kind words. An old game that you want to have a remake? No, kind of like the old games that I watched, the old games that I played are all like, I kind of just want them to remain the way that they were, you know? If I have an urge to play those games again, I want to go back and play the game that I loved, not take the chance that they'll mess it up in a remake. So there's not really any games I want them to remake, maybe re-release, but you know, honestly, pretty much all the games that I liked as a kid have been re-released at some point. Yeah, no, I don't really have a good answer for this one. Sorry. Here's an interesting question, and I have a very simple answer for it. With the news from the current live letter and jobs having specific limit breaks, do you think it's a possibility they could add more powerful version of job-specific limit breaks to the final form of Relic Weapons? No. They will not do that, because, simply put, then it becomes mandatory for players to have it. They're going to be like, no Relic Weapon, no party. Like, it's going to happen. It is basically going to happen. I do think they should add some sort of special effect to the ultimate end of the Relic of the Zodiac Brave questline. Something about the weapon that's just unique and can't be replicated anyplace else. Not just its look or its glow, but something, you know, combat-wise that just makes it special to have. Because it's a lot of work getting one of those relic weapons. It's a lot of grinding to get one of those relic weapons. So, other than just being equivalent in stats, I would like to see something a little bit different. Also, the expansion's coming soon. Go nuts with, like, testing out set bonuses and stuff like that. You might as well. I mean, at this point, this gear isn't going to carry us through the raids in Heavensward or anything like that. It's going to get replaced when Heavensward comes out. Go nuts with it. Try it out. See if you can figure it out. Experiment. We don't have a PBE for these sort of things, so just do it now, and the gear's going to be irrelevant in however long. So, no, I don't. To answer your question, no, but I would like to see some sort of special stat on them. Alright, 2 more questions. This guy's got 2 on his own, but I mean, this guy and 1 more. So, hey, Mr. Happy, it's going to be a little long, so I apologize in advance. It's not that long. This question is regarding the expansion. Considering this is my first MMO, how much do you think Heavensward will cost? Amazon currently has it for $60, but I've learned about Amazon that every new game they put up for $60 when they don't know the price yet, but they don't actually charge the game until it ships. So if you pre-order it for the $60 and it costs less than $60, then they'll only charge you, like if it was $30, which I think it'll cost $30 to $40 for the expansion, for the standard edition expansion. Then they'll just charge you that. They won't charge you the $60. However, if your pre-order ends up costing more than $60, then they end up just letting you get it for $60. So I think it'll cost about $40 for the expansion across all systems. I don't think they're going to do the whole less expensive for PC, less expensive for the digital, but less expensive for PC versus the console. And the second question was, any chance a new magic class in the expansion will be Red Mage or Geomancer? I honestly think the gun job is going to be like a magic gun, like a Magun. That's from Final Fantasy Unlimited. A magic gun type wielder, not just your standard, hey, I'm a ranged DPS, I shoot people in the face. I think it's going to be something a little bit more. If it's not a healer, that is, if it's a magic gun wielder, they could be a gun healer. I have not ruled that out yet. I think they're going to either be closer to a Corsair from Final Fantasy 11, or they're going to be closer to one of the magic healers from the like tactics games and things like that. The possibilities, we don't know. We'll know this month, in about 19 days. We'll know. So, looking forward to it. Alright, and the last question that I am going to answer is a question about the economy. Hey, Mr. Happy, I have a question about something I haven't heard you talk about yet. Do you think that 3.0 there will be a big guild or economy changes? Do you feel like they will increase or decrease the amount of guild we earn, and do you feel like Square Enix tuned guild farming right, as the market seems to be tailing off recently? It tails off like a month and a half after every patch. It's just because people have already spent most of their guild. People aren't seeking the immediate gains in gear anymore, like with the item level 110 crafted gear. People are starting to get all their vanity stuff. They rushed and spent their money on it right away. So that's why it seems to be tailing off right now. It's going to tail off 2.5. It'll pick up again, then it'll tail off again, then Heavensward. I don't see it being really big changes. The big thing will be whichever crafters can level from 50 to 60 and have all the right skills to do immediate like end game crafting for level 60, they will make the most money when Heavensward comes out. Miners and botanists who get to level 60 and get all the new gear and melds, they will also be the people to benefit the most from the from the money that's going to be Heavensward. And that's normal. I mean, there's always things that at least cost some money, like food and potions. Those are always good markets to be in. Certain things you can gather and mine, those are always good markets to be in, especially sort of the mid-tier kind of things for leveling up and crafting certain recipes for housing items and whatnot. But I think they did a good job with the economy. There's just a few things that could be done better. The amount of viable markets could be a little bit larger. That's really the only thing that I see as an issue right now. And yeah, I don't really see them increasing or decreasing the amount of gil that we get. I don't really see a need to. But anyway, those are all the questions that I'm going to answer for this week. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them on this week's in the comment section below. I'll answer them for next week. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share for this video and for my channel. And until next time, guys, take care.